Yes, we are live. So, welcome, 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 all my beautiful beings to this show. And this is show number, I guess it's 137 on this Zero Point Healing. So, thank you all for joining me today. Today, I have with me an amazing guest, and we are going to talk about PSYCH-K. PSYCH-K is one of my favorite modalities, which has shifted and changed so much in my life. So, yes, I'm looking forward to all the conversation that I'm going to have with my guest today. And today, we are going to talk about slaying limiting beliefs and how and what these limiting beliefs are and how that affects our life and how PSYCH-K can actually help us overcome these limiting beliefs. So before I move on to my guest here, just a short intro about me. I'm Vishnupriya, and I am certified in multiple different holistic healing modalities. As I came through this journey into this holistic healing world, so just now I was even talking to my guest here how different holistic healing modalities. So I was doing, like, especially last year, I was going through so many different practitioners, like at least 60 plus different practitioners, and I was doing so many different healing sessions, receiving healing sessions from them across so many different modalities. And this literally last year was like I started off somewhere, and by the end of the year I was like, wow, what a transformation, what I might have achieved like in 10 years time. It felt like I did it all in just 1 year. How much my finances, my relationships, my personal health, and all areas of my life just shifted and transformed. So with that kind of inspiration, especially, we are putting together something called Global Healing Carnival, which is coming up this particular weekend. It's June 19th and 20th of 2021, depending on when you're watching this video. And of course, we are also kind of planning to do this once in every year. So those of you who are watching it live at this point in time, you can join us if you choose to. So the Global Healing Carnival is we bringing together all holistic healing practitioners on one side and clients who would like to receive holistic healing sessions from the practitioners. So basically, by participating in this event, if you're a practitioner, you can offer 8 healing sessions for 8 different clients. It's over a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And if you're a client, you can receive 8 healing sessions from 8 different practitioners with so many different modalities that each practitioners bring to the table. So that's what we are kind of putting. It's an adventure that we are creating for the first time. So I invite you all, for whoever would like to get a taste of all of these different modalities and practitioners and how much that can actually change and shift different areas of our life. All right. So those of you who are choosing to do so can go to zeropointhealing.com, and all the information is right there. Also, if you are a practitioner, you can also create a free listing on our website. It's a web directory. So go to zeropointhealing.com. Alrighty. So now I'm moving on to my guest here. Welcome, welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for being with me on my show today. So tell
Oh,
us a
thank you
little.
so much for having me.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about you, about your journey into this holistic healing.
Yeah, so my name is Amy Bracht, and I spent a majority of my adult life in a corporate career and climbing that ladder that we all think is very, very important. And I think if you would have looked at my life, you would have said, wow, she's really got it together. She has a team and has a great salary and gets to travel the world. But I was feeling very empty about it. And I wasn't sure what that meant, other than I just knew something had to change. And I had participated in traditional things like therapy, talking to my friends, all of these things, but I just could never get over that hump of, I think something's missing here and I don't know what it is. And so I was on vacation and I read The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. I also read The Honeymoon Effect. I downloaded them both because as soon as I finished one, I went right to the other. And when I read about the power that we have to control our thoughts and therefore change reality, I was very, very intrigued by it because I felt like wow, working with the subconscious mind, removing some of those limiting beliefs that I have that have been thwarting me this whole time. Maybe that's the piece that I'm missing to getting through to the other side of how I think I want to feel. So when I came home from vacation, I turned to my trusty Google and Googled the PSYCH-K near me and found a practitioner who I have actually never met. She and I have only worked online together, and met with her and learned a little bit more about the process, and then went through a coaching package with her. And I think probably after the first meeting, I was so taken by it that I asked her, how can I learn how to do this myself so that I can continue working on things when we're not in session? And so she pointed me in the direction of becoming a facilitator. And within a month, I was signed up for the next facilitator workshop that was closest to where I live. And through that process, ended up going through their advanced and master facilitation series and became a practitioner myself. So in a couple months after that, I had some changes at work, and I just decided now is the time. If I'm going to make a change and really bring this type of healing to other people, now is the time to do it. So I left corporate America. I opened my own coaching practice, which is called The Better You Is Possible. And I offer PSYCH-K services as well as other life coaching services to my clients. And it has been really awesome, more than I could have ever imagined.
Wow. Wow. And when it comes to PSYCH-K, so what was that about PSYCH-K that was like, wow, this is amazing, I want to pursue this, especially not just pursue the coaching and receiving that with another practitioner, but then later you also chose to make that as your career and offer the service to the world. So what was that with PSYCH-K that really got you like, hey, this is what I want in my life?
Well, first, it made so much sense to me that our subconscious beliefs, the things that we tell ourselves since childhood, or things that we hear those in authority tell us in our childhood, that we're just downloading when we're in that age up to about 7 years old, that we then keep and we don't need it anymore. But we keep going back to it and telling ourselves that must be true about me, even though many years have passed and there's numerous examples where that particular belief isn't true about you. You keep going back to that space. And so that part of it just made so much sense to me, why that could work, and why, because our subconscious brains are in charge of most of our day, why changing those beliefs and creating new neural pathways could support the conscious changes I wanted to make much more easily. The second thing that really intrigued me about it was the speed. So usually to create a new neural pathway, you need to do repetition. And so that's the basis of hypnosis, for example. That's why you're listening to a hypnosis CD every day for 21 days or 66 days, whatever is recommended to you. And I had tried those things before, but honestly, I would forget. And then I'd be starting over, and I would not get the full effect of it because life would get in the way for me, and I'd forget to turn on my hypnosis tape at night. And so the speed of PSYCH-K was what really got to me, because I experienced, and then now I experience with my clients, the fact that you can make a rapid change about something that's been bothering you for quite some time in 10 or 15 minutes. And a change that you can feel something has shifted, and you go forth with that new neural pathway, so that when that trigger comes up for you again, instead of going to that old story, your brain goes right down the path of the new story and the new neural pathway. And so that part to me was probably the most life-changing, because I can also be an impatient person. I work on that with myself with PSYCH-K, but that to me was where I saw the true value, because most people who are coming to you when they've decided that it's time to make a change, they really want to do it now, and to have that experience of going forward with some new change quickly it's awesome to see it when it happens.
Wow. Yes. And for me as well. So I before I knew about PSYCH-K, I started off my holistic healing journey. First, I started off with Reiki healing. And from there, I went into hypnotherapy, where I was learning, different past life regression, hypnosis, and there was this called rapid transformational therapy. So all of that was, hypnosis based, where hypnosis is usually, how you were saying, 21 days we keep hearing, a certain audio to kind of reprogram our brains. And later I found Psyche, where I was like, wow, it takes only, especially I went into same, the videos of Bruce Lipton that you were sharing. And there was some 10-minute video on YouTube from Bruce Lipton, where it said towards the end of it, there was something like everything was the same. You have to reprogram your brain. When you change your beliefs, your reality will change and all of that. But towards the last 1 minute of it, it was like, hey, if you want, go to Psyche and see what Psyche is. And from there on, I started off. And then it was said, if you're using hypnosis or any other stuff, it might take you 10-15 days or 1 month. If you're using Psyche, it only takes you 5-10 minutes to get this process done. So that was one catchy word there. I was like, wow, it takes only 5 minutes. Let's go, kind of research on that. And that brought me into this entire Psyche thing all about. And yes, from there, I kind of worked with so many different Psyche practitioners, facilitators, and I've received sessions from them. So yes, let's go deeper into it, and how, talking about the topic, which is, slaying limiting beliefs. So tell us a little bit about what limiting belief would look like, and how is it that is affecting our lives, and what has been your experience of it?
Sure. So I think it's really interesting when you point out to someone what a limiting belief could be, because they're things we're all thinking to ourselves. We just don't know that's what we're thinking. So once you become aware of it, you're going to hear limiting beliefs all over the place, and you're going to be thinking, we've all got them. What's going on? But for quite a few of my clients, one of the limiting beliefs they might have is around money. So I'll never have a lot of money. I'm always going to be broke. I don't know how to care for my money. Those types of things may come from a story that they've heard when they were younger. Maybe their family situation was tough. They didn't have access to a lot of resources, and so they've carried that with them. Or they had a parent who struggled with money, and therefore they carry that belief with them. In Psych-K, your whole focus is on goal statements. So we wouldn't really need to get into what led you to that point, although it's very helpful for people to do that. That's another great thing about Psych-K, is that you don't necessarily have to rehash anything that came to you in the past. You can really take it from today and say, what's my goal going forward? So in that case, a goal going forward could be, I live in abundance, or I always have what I need, or I respect money and it respects me. Those are just some examples. But as you go through that process, you can then change that story, which has practical effects on many different areas of your life. That is when I see consistently, because money is a big one for people. And I know you're, as a coach, you've worked with that and with clients as well. And that is one that when you give someone a different way to think, it can be really miraculous what happens for them. So limiting beliefs, though, are even common phrases like, you can't have it all. Or what was something that was just said to me the other day, and I thought, it's a limiting belief. Stop saying that. But when you get into that space, you realize we're limiting ourselves so much, and we're limiting our potential so much every day. And not only are we doing that, but we're unintentionally modeling that behavior for our kids and the young people in our lives. And so by going through the process and making those changes, you can not only create something different for yourself, but you can totally change how the rest of your family tree goes from there by creating that dynamic change within your families.
Right. And one of those big ones for me was, I have to work hard for money. And I was,
Yes.
that belief was like, especially it comes from my culture, where I'm born and brought up as
Mm-hmm.
well. I guess it feels like every single person has that belief that you have to work hard for money no matter what. Especially you have to do something that which you don't even like, right?
Correct.
So that is
No
one.
pain, no gain.
Ah,
As they say, no pain, no gain. Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. You have to work hard and you have to do something that which you don't like if you need to have money, right? So that
Right.
is like total contrary to what we actually want in our lives.
It's amazing that you bring that up because I work quite a bit with people who want a career transformation. And so that may be, I'm middle aged. I got into this career. I became a lawyer because my dad was a lawyer and he said that was a good profession. And so at 18, I decided, well, I guess I'll just do this. And now I'm in my mid 40s and I don't enjoy it. People will come to me and I'll start talking to them about, well, what would you like to do instead? And what almost 99% of the time comes up is, well, I'd love to do X, but I know I won't make any money. Or I'd love to change over here, but I can't make the salary that I was making. And so I shouldn't even think about it. And when you start to challenge people and say, well, why do you think that? You can get into a whole interesting part of their story that they don't even realize. And in some cases, that's true. Making a change, you won't make the same amount of money that you may make today. But what are your priorities? And how can we reframe what you value differently to see that the value of your life isn't always monetary?
Hmm. Right. Wow. Yes. And that is, I guess, also kind of pulling people back from, you know, especially I have been working with people who go for a job and from there they want to switch into a business. And they always go into that space of, hey, let me jump back into the job because that gives me this consistent income. Yes, I love
Yep.
doing this business, but hey, that job is what gives me that consistency. Yep. And so much more we can talk about the limiting beliefs here. But a little bit, let's talk about psyche now and how psyche can be a solution for the limiting beliefs that we have. So let's say I'm coming in for a session, a psyche session with you. What happens during a session when a client comes in?
Sure. So when a client comes to me, we usually spend as much time as the client wants, but depending on the session length, which is usually 60 to 90 minutes, we may spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes talking about what's brought you here today. Like I say, some clients are not that, at least at the beginning, interested in sharing, but some do want to tell you exactly what they've been thinking and where they see it holding them back. So it kind of depends on the level of awareness of the client at that point. So we go through that, and then it's just a simple question: what do you want instead? And through that process, we create goal statements, and goal statements are, in the first person. They're present, so not I will be XYZ, it's I am XYZ. They're positively stated, so we don't use any negative terminology. So instead of I don't have fear, you would say I am courageous. That would be an example of how not to use negative terminology. They're usually short and they're usually emotionally evocative. It has to be something that the client feels like, yes, that's what I want. And so after that, we go through a testing process to see which balance is what we call them in Psych-K, which balance is appropriate for the client at that time. And then we go through and do not only a process where the client may be thinking about the goal statement or repeating it, but then also into some specific poses, moving the body into a position that helps create that neural pathway. So that's where the K comes from in Psych-K. It's kinetic, it's movement. You're putting yourself into some kind of posture that will facilitate the growth or facilitate the new connection that's occurring. And like I say, those can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 3 minutes. I mean, it's just whatever. When the client feels a shift has occurred, we then go through and close out that process. And during that time, they may have thought of something else because of how our brains are so, the quantum entanglement is I guess the technical term of our brains. we may have something that comes up for us that we feel consciously is unrelated, but in our brain, our subconscious has made a connection between those two experiences. Sometimes a client will get a flash of a word that they don't know exactly what that means, but that word was coming up for them, or they see a vision of something that's happened to them in the past. We can then move on with different goal statements, building upon that, and go through the entire session just repeating the process.
Wow. And I know that, since I have kind of experienced multiple PSYCH-K sessions, I guess we really cannot describe what happens in a session with
Right.
words, right? You truly have to experience it. And for me, especially when the first time I experienced it, I was like, whoa, wow, what was that?
What
What's
was that? Yes.
Yeah, what a shift in just
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, right? So when I get started with the session, I might say like, hey, I have all of this, money problems and money is not coming to my bank account, and I'll be like totally in a depressed, worried state. And then the facilitator goes, okay, what would you like to have instead? And I'm like, okay, I would like to have this much money or whatever in my bank account, or I would like to have this job, or I would love to have more clients in my business, or something like, a goal statement is said. And then she does this 5 to 10 minute stuff. She tells me, okay, keep your hands like this, keep your legs like this, and I do all of that. And then, okay, now close your eyes and do this, maybe whatever that is, and I do it. And then, when she says, okay, whenever you feel a shift, open your eyes, and I actually feel a shift and open my eyes, and I was like, wait, what happened? And
Yep.
I'll be in a totally different space and energetically, and I'll be like, I already feel like there's money in my bank account. 5 minutes back, I was totally disappointed and worried about everything in my life. And, 5 to 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I feel like there's some shift happened. So I guess every time I come out of a PSYCH-K session, that feeling itself is like a beautiful confirmation that for me as a client, it's like, okay, something has shifted. Especially when I did the first session, it was like right after the session, 2 hours from then, I started receiving some money like through PayPal somewhere, something clicked, and I was like, wow, this is working. It's working like magic. So that's my personal experience with PSYCH-K. So do you
Yes. I've
want
had
to
many a client start in tears and end in smiles.
ah
They're so upset and so stressed because we're so used to as people not being listened to. Just providing an environment for someone to talk about these things that are worrying them is very freeing, but it'll often start in tears. I just had one the other day. It started in tears and I was like, don't worry, we're going to get to a whole different spot. And when they left, they were smiling and couldn't wait to continue their day. And it was really validating for me as a facilitator too, to know that I could assist them in that healing.
beautiful. Wow. And do you want to share some maybe client stories of experiences that they have had? Also, maybe one of the things that people would love to hear is what are the different kind of issues, problems, challenges that somebody can come to you for, right? People watching, yeah, might have different challenges and problems. What is it that they can come to you for?
So I've had clients come to me for things that on surface seem very simple. So for example, I had a client who came to me who was afraid to fly, to the point that she would take a lot of medication. She felt really unsure of herself because she had a child. And so she didn't want to be on the plane feeling like she wasn't 100% alert for her child. And so we just talked through it. What would you like instead? I'd like to enjoy the flight. I'd like to relax. We worked through several statements. She experienced that shift where she was like, what happened? And then I got a text message from her. She was actually preparing to go on a flight later that week when we did the session. And she texted me and said, I was so relaxed that I was almost anxious about being so relaxed. She said, I didn't have to use my the normal medication I would take. She said, I walked down the hallway to get on the plane and I thought, what's happening? Normally I'm like hyperventilating by now. I'm not. And she enjoyed the flight and just read her book and was calm. And I said, well, we probably have more to work on if we're anxious about not having anxiety, but I leave that to you. But so you can have very simple changes that can have a profound effect, because now she can enjoy traveling. I've had other clients who've come to me and we've worked on some very serious things, childhood traumas, experiences that they feel uncomfortable sharing with other people. And so that's another great way that PSYCH-K can help someone, because again, we don't have to relive that trauma. We can simply go in and say, I want to remove the energy from this memory. I want to remove the energy from this stressful situation, and go through the process and be able to not erase that memory, but remove some of that energy for a person, so that when they think of it, they don't get triggered and go down that path of, you know, the really anxious and terrible feelings that they had before. It allows them to maybe step back from it and look at it maybe from a distance. And that helps them to not re-trigger those emotions. But I've worked with clients on, the gamut of issues, really, of things that seem to be very, simple, to things that just, as you peel the onion of what's going on with someone, it continues and continues and continues into something much deeper.
Wow, that's beautiful. And is there any kind of set of packages? How do you actually work? Is there also any free consultation sessions? How can people kind of approach you?
Sure. So you can always book on my calendar for a consult, and we can decide whether this process will work for you or not. That's free. And usually takes 30 minutes. So you can book on my website. And then I usually tailor packages to what people need. For me, I think a 6-week package or a 6-session package is usually good, because most people, if they don't know exactly what they're coming in for, they may realize some things in session 2 or session 3, and then they're saying, I'm really glad I can continue because I want to work through some of these items. But for some people, that's not feasible. And so I can design a 3-session package. It really depends on what the person needs and where they're at, and how I can assist.
Wow, beautiful. All right. So thank you, Amy, and my dear beautiful beings watching this show. You can click on the link above or below, and you can kind of, book that free consultation session with Amy and kind of discuss any kind of issues. And I know from my knowledge about Psyche is one modality that can kind of bring in any kind of issues and challenges you have over any areas of your life. You can kind of bring that on. You can have that free consult. Also, we have a 10% off booking coupon code for you at that 0 point. So if you are contacting Amy, just let her know that you found her through 0 point, and she will give you that 10% off discount on your first booking. So thank you. Thank you, Amy. Any final
words? Thank you so much. No, just thank you so much for allowing me to come on and having this thoughtful conversation. And I hope it gets people excited about the possibilities of things that they can do in their life, and that they can realize that they can take charge of their own healing and their own development.
Yes, and I really love the word possibility that you used. For me, all of these different healing sessions has been truly opening up. Every healing session that I've kind of gone into has opened up new possibilities in my life. And now I'm at a space where I can see possibilities everywhere, continuing opening those doors. So yes, that truly resonates with me. So my dear viewers, thank you so much. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you get to share this video with any of your friends, family, anybody, if you know of going through any kind of major issues, things in their lives, you can share this video. This might be a contribution for them. So thank you all for your support. I'm going to see you next time. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Bye-bye.